Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, we can learn a comic episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's a blue alien with me tonight?
It is Peter Bingham-Pankratz. You may know me as the author of The Fifth Civilization, and also a frequent guest for the Star Wars episodes.
Yes. All Star Wars all the time.
Right.
So we are here for another Star Wars episode. Star Wars Thrawn, the comic adaptation of the first book, also titled Thrawn, written by Timothy Zahn. Comic book is written by... I don't know. Where is
Jody Houser.
Yes.
Jody Houser.
And this came out in 2018, and the book that is based on came out in 2017, which is part of the Thrawn trilogy, which was Timothy Zahn writing his new trilogy that fits into the canon.
Right. We talked about in a previous episode about the 90s books, Heir to the Empire,
Yes.
or the 90s comics, etc. But this is the new Thrawn. Similar to the old Thrawn, a little bit different, and so on.
It's close.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, this is very much just him starting out. And then we're also missing the other two novels because they didn't get comic adapted. Plus, we're only covering the first one, but the first miniseries. But this is a good intro to showing Thrawn. And it's kind of nice where it's also different than what Heir of the Empire did. Because Heir of the Empire takes place after the Empire's, kind of fallen apart and introduces this character. This is him, how he joins them. And it shows him joining, I want to say it's shortly after Revenge of the Sith. In the look of it.
Yeah, that's what the description was. It was sometime between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. This is set. So.
But even on the first issue cover, you see him standing. They're wearing clone armor still. So this is really close because I want to say it's within the first. I watched way too much Star Wars lately, by the way. The first year or two of the Empire is when he phases out the clone troopers. It's pretty quick because, well, one, Palpatine's an asshole, and two, controlling. It's the way they do it, and it's very quick. Because in Star Wars: The Bad Batch, they talk about it and they really show how that happens. Right. And this has got to be very early, just by the look of the first cover.
Yeah, got to be early on.
Again, I watch way too much Star Wars.
Yeah, and as full disclosure, Mike has seen Rebels, and I have not seen more than a couple episodes of Rebels, just because I haven't gotten around to it, and I know Thrawn's a big character. So
in season 3 and 4, technically this book ends with the beginning of season 3. So this book ends and then season 3 of Rebels would start, and that's where Thrawn is first introduced.
Yeah.
They make a comment of it in the last issue of this book.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a picture of the Rebels too, an incorrect picture because one of the characters has a face mask that he does not have in season 1 and 2. But hey.
Oh man. Come on, people. What are we doing?
He doesn't get it. Well, maybe he gets in the end of season 2. I can't remember when stuff happened that leads to him wearing a face mask when he gets cut. That's neither here nor there. But just this cover of seeing Thrawn with long hair and just a bunch of clone soldiers crumpled up at the bottom, it grabbed my attention. I read this back when it came out. I think I read this back in 2018 randomly somewhere, or at least I saw this book while comic book hunting, and it got my attention.
Yeah, it's a good cover.
Yeah, I like it. And I just and I also it's a much different comic than what I expected because this whole book or miniseries is pretty much like a political drama.
Yeah, there's not a ton of action per se. It's it's the Andor of comics in that it talks a lot about the inner workings of the Imperials, which I do like to see.
Same. I'm really into how the Imperials work.
Whenever you see Imperial officers, trying to one-up each other, it's always interesting. I don't know what it is. It must be because they're just, they're just so bloodthirsty with each other. It's kind of funny.
It's good. This one starts off where you have this Imperials are camped on some unknown planet and they're being attacked by somebody, an unknown alien. And you have one of the ensigns is I'm saying that word wrong. And I should know how to say it. I've heard it enough on Star Trek.
Are they on Chiss? Are they, or no? Maybe
no, they're not on Chiss. They're on some other planet, I think in the Outer Rim, because the Chiss are from the unknown region, and Thrawn, at least what he tells you when they run into him, is that he was exiled to this planet.
Okay, yeah, okay. I read this all in a blur a couple nights ago, so I'm trying to...
You're good. But it shows you, how creative he is pretty quickly. It just shows a couple scenes, one where Thrawn takes a body and stuffs explosives in it, so they take the body back and the whole camp blows up.
Right.
He ties a bomb to a freaking, squirrel and has it run at them, and that blows up people. Like, he's just taking people out left and right and not even being around.
Right. Kind of
you
like
kind
a
of get
guerrilla
to see
fighter.
a lot with that.
Yeah.
Or how, and then, I mean, and the first way that they're really introduced to him is he takes clone armor, puts it on, and sneaks onto the ship.
Right. Yeah. That's good. But you kind of get
introduction.
Like all good villains, his plan was to be captured. So.
Yeah, because he didn't have and he got their attention by killing people. I mean, and to be fair, the Imperials don't give a shit about clone troopers at this point.
No. Well,
so it also makes sense. He killed clone troopers. They don't give a shit. And it fits Star Wars at this time perfectly. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not. It was a guy who's watched way too much Star Wars lately. I'm like, yeah, that's correct. Like, they shouldn't care because they don't care about these people.
Yeah, exactly.
I watched too much Star Wars. But I liked all the politicalness of it. I liked how even in the beginning you have this commander who's like, yeah, sure, we'll take the guy back to Palpatine or whatever. I don't care. Here, Ensign, you're in charge. You translate for him, it just shows you the politics of it. And I really enjoy politics in Star Wars, as long as it's not the prequel movies.
I mean, there's this, I kind of like that stuff in general, just because, it shows you how an empire like that would have to function. There'd have to be some sort of hierarchy, and people, lesser lords or whatever have their own little kingdoms at the end, at their own little outposts. So it's kind of like what happens in real life, Yeah. It's not Palpatine controlling everything. Palpatine has like hundreds and thousands of other people doing his work for him. So
he has to. I mean, we think about a country, and this is a freaking galactic, empire. Right. I mean, you're covering, dozens of planets and solar systems, or
hundreds of planets.
I want to say dozens. Yeah, I mean, all these different planets, and you think about how many people are on a planet. Like, there's no one way one person could rule something like that,
right?
Without help. And power.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like the character of Ensign Vanto. I think it's Vanto or something.
Yeah.
His name is Eli Vanto, I see. So they doing the Star Wars thing of one real name and one Star Wars name. But yeah, he's a good character just because he's not your standard scheming Imperial. He's kind of like a Wesley Crusher type, I guess.
Yes, he's just a guy trying to go to work, and he's working for the Empire. He doesn't care about. He's like, hey, my parents ship, materials. They work on a freighter. I got this job. I just want to move up and just work. I don't like. And again, it makes sense. And I like seeing people that aren't really evil in the Empire.
Right, yeah, because if you remember, even Luke wanted to join the Empire, in A New Hope, because they were the big government, and so it's like, well, why wouldn't you want to join the Empire?
Especially when all you're doing is moisture farming.
Right, exactly.
And you can't get power converters from Tashi Station, so you just want to leave. So I watched that movie recently too, again, by the way.
I think Rise of Skywalker should have ended with a post-credit scene where they're like, all right, Mr. Skywalker, your power converters are ready. And then just some guy delivers it to Tatooine. It's like, oh, no one's here. It just took 30 years for them to finally... That's an aside. Well, I'll mention that again when we talk about Rise of Skywalker.
But no, when I was on a plane, I ended up watching New Hope again and Empire Strikes Back while flying.
Right.
God, I love those movies so much. New Hope is a perfect film.
Hard to disagree.
Like, even Thrawn in this is not really an evil character. He's just trying to support the Empire because he thinks, the Empire is the law. The Empire is the power. So if you don't have the Empire, you will have chaos when something else takes over, which is, kind of what heir to the Empire is.
Yeah. I don't think he's ever been... He's portrayed as a bad guy, and he is a bad guy in those books. But he's never been portrayed as evil. I guess he's kind of like a noble. He's kind of like the noble villain or whatever. The trope.
He's fighting for his country, essentially.
I hate to say it, but like there's kind of a trope of like when you have like a movie of World War II, there's always like the one Nazi guy who's like, oh, I don't support Hitler, but I'm still fighting for Germany or whatever. That's what he kind of is like. He doesn't really care about the emperor or whatever, but he's like, I better do my glory. I got to do what's right for the law and order. So,
well, you also find out in this book that he's actually trying to support the Chiss, his home planet too. Like,
exactly.
When he shows up when they capture him and bring him to Emperor Palpatine, and he's telling him, he's like, hey, I want to work for you, and he's like, I can help you and I will be loyal to you. And I love how he mentions Anakin Skywalker. As far as I can tell, there is no comic. There is no storyline of him meeting Anakin Skywalker. I think there is something. There's got to be something. I could not figure it out online.
Was it not in the Clone Wars?
No, he's not in the Clone Wars.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's in one of the other books that are written by Timothy Zahn later, but it's one of those little things that really bothered me because I want it, not because it works. Even though it's not in this book and in this comic, it makes it work that he just has a couple brief where he just mentioned Anakin Skywalker. And I love how Palpatine's like, sadly, he did not. And it shows the picture of Anakin burning.
Yeah, well, at the end, we get a nice little reference to that, too.
Yeah, I just like that, where he's just like, yeah, he's dead. Yeah, he's not right over here somewhere.
Oh, yeah, too bad. Let's move on to a different subject about the Anakin Skywalker. Yeah. So Thrawn goes to Coruscant. He's taken to Coruscant to meet the Emperor because the Emperor wants to know about the Chiss. And when does he say? He says something. He says something like, "Oh, I can tell you about the dangerous stuff at the edge of the galaxy," or something like that. Doesn't he say
in the unknown regions?
In the unknown regions, that's what he says. Yeah, there are lots of things that are dangerous.
So he pretty much, woos the Palpatine enough to be like, to get him to have him work for him. Yeah, I guess Palpatine's like everyone else. Like, he doesn't know much about the Chiss, and they're kind of a mythological race. So like, there's so many stories and rumors, I guess, about them. So he's like, finally I meet one. We want you as part of the Empire. That also fits Palpatine. Yeah, because he is a very, I feel like he's kind of a curious person in a sense, and Well, he wants to know who the threat is. Any threats to him, for one thing. Also, if anybody could be an ally. So there's a race of cunning warriors out there. I'm sure he'd love to see. Are they dangerous, or can they be turned to his side? I'm sure that's one of his goals. Oh, yeah, and worst case scenario, if they don't work, he'll just kill everybody if they don't work for him. So, right, yeah. He's got no problems. But he wants, that's Palpatine, though, for you. Yeah, I think, he's kind of curious. Like, I think there's always been stories of him having, like, artifacts and, like, collecting things around the galaxy and stuff, like, just to, because he wants to know everything. He wants to be in charge of everything, so he's going to do that. I mean, you see it a lot in the Darth Vader comic book. That really shows you, which takes place after episode 3, before episode 4. Yeah. So during this time, that kind of shows what Vader is doing at this time. Right, yeah. And why he's not here. And why he can't be here. But also, like, it shows you Thrawn gets promoted to, I forget what rank he gets, but he's put in the military, he's given an officer rank. And I like how Ensign Vado is telling him very much. He's like, this is meant to disgrace you because you're an alien and you're not. And also, everyone else is human. And I like that because the Empire is racist. Right. They're, what's the right word? Not racist. It would be xenophobic. Xenophobic. Yeah. Or racist. Yeah, I guess. In the terms of, because they're not I guess they're a race, but they're different species. So yeah, xenophobic or whatever you'd want to call it. But yeah, they don't like non-humans. It's very rare. And Thrawn was always, in the old canon at least, Thrawn was always like one of the very few aliens who ever got into any position of power. You don't see many. And I think that's also what's interesting. Like, even in this back half of this issue, it kind of just shows you like what he's doing and how the cadets are trying to take advantage of him, and he's just tricking people. I'm just looking through it. There was one mention of there were a lot of different non-humans in the separatist movement. And that's why lots of people that's why the humans didn't like them. That's one of the reasons. Okay, that makes perfect sense, because the separatists, you have Spider-Man and all sorts of stuff like that. Right, yeah. There literally is a spider guy who runs one of the military things at one point. So I watch way too much Clone Wars lately, by the way, but yes. So there's a lot of aliens. Yeah, there's a lot of aliens. So you get the sense that's where some of the Empire stuff comes from. And there still would be a lot of hatred towards the separatists at this point. Right. This is very early. Well, this book starts very early after Clone Wars. So, there's a lot of hatred towards them. Right. I just like the stuff you see with Thrawn a lot. And there's like, you see him get into a fight and how he's, planning out and be like, hey, don't fight. Don't, gold them. Send them off somewhere else and promote them because they'll be better for the Empire. Oh, yeah. So, he gets in a tussle with this rival cadet or something. And they send the guys after him. They're walking through Coruscant. They send some guys to like mug him or attack him or something. And he shows us Thrawn cunning by say, if send them to the cadet school. They're very adept. But it's such a secret program that
there won't be any official announcement where they're going. But the guy who sent the thugs will be like, oh, 3 of my guys disappeared for no reason. And he'll be so scared that he won't mess with Thrawn anymore.
It's just...
Yeah.
Timothy Zahn writes Thrawn so good.
He's always a step ahead. Yeah. He's a step ahead of everything.
And like one thing about this book, it took a little bit of me reading, is they have lots of narration by different characters. Yeah. Where you have to kind of start picking up on the colors. Gray is usually Ensign Vato. Anytime there's a blue thing next to the box, it's Thrawn thinking. Like, it's very creative in how they work this in.
Yeah.
And
that was it's Thrawn good. It's good. Yeah.
Thrawn is always thinking about the Empire. I think that's what's so good about him too.
Yeah.
You know, he's
good.
And then that brings us to issue 2. And also at the beginning of every issue, you have a little thing that says Vanto's log and kind of tells you what, like, it just gives like all their mission, their operatives, and who the characters are. Like, it's just a really cool little start to each thing. I really like that.
Oh yeah, there's I'm trying to scroll this. Okay, yeah.
It's just like a little like it looks like a mission objective if you were playing a game.
It does. Yeah, very much so.
And I really appreciate that. I also like in issue 2, it starts off with you have him on in a ship that he's now on, part of a ship called Blood Crow, but he has these 3 things that he kept. He has part of a hyperdrive ring from a Jedi ship. 2, he has a droideca, so a destroyer droid. I think that's what they're called. And then he has 2 of the popcorn guys. Are those popcorn? I forget what they're called. I swear they call them popcorn at some point.
I don't
make a big note of mine. Buzz droids, that's what they are.
Buzz droids, yeah.
And I like it because you honestly don't see a lot of buzz droids. I mean, you see them in Revenge of the Sith, but you honestly don't see them a lot in Clone Wars. Okay. I don't think I've seen them at all in the 5 seasons I've watched so far up to this.
I only
it's
remember
not a common thing.
Right. I only remember them as eating, they try to eat Anakin's starship or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they were just a cool thing to add into the movie because we needed something new.
Right, exactly.
Gotta sell toys, damn it. So. That's what I always think of when I think of Star Wars. We gotta sell toys. Well, because he made so much fucking money just from the toy sales, so,
I mean, everything's a toy. Everything's got, that's part of the fun of Star Wars.
As a guy who has 2 Ahsoka Funko Pops to the left of him, I understand. So. And an Andor, by the way, and Obi-Wan, so I understand.
Wow.
Just to the left of me.
Just to the left?
There's more other places.
What's to the right of you? Like,
Spider-Man Funko Pops, Wonder Woman.
Okay, more Funko Pops. You just have the Star Wars stuff on your left. Okay, I got it.
I have a couple of the Star Wars stuff for me. I also have I bought one of the Commandos from Republic Commando 2 because I'm a sucker. So I like Star Wars a lot, in case you didn't know.
Oh, I know.
A lot. And it's just like, and again, more politics where it shows like him, talking with the ensign and ensign, and the guy's like, hey, the person in charge now doesn't want you to keep the stuff that you have here, this junk, because the other commander said yes. So now she's just, taking charge and trying to kick it out because he said yes. And I also like how they talk about a lot with, like, I didn't think anything would go on with the buzz droid, but the fact that it has a Doomian shell is such an important part of this.
Yeah, he's like, it's highly valued by collectors or something because you can't. Like this model is so collectible because it has a Doomian shell or something. Yeah, so it's very much, it's a little bit poking fun at collectors who collect.
Yeah, because I think she makes fun of it. She calls, like, what do you call a collector? Just an idiot. Or something like that.
An idiot with too much money, something like that.
Collectors are people with more money than brains.
Right, yes.
I laugh because I'm a collector, too.
Right.
I laughed at that comment. Times, yes.
It's definitely a comic book. It was a little bit meta. It was like, all right, you're reading a comic book, you comic book collector. Well, here, we'll take this, nerds. You have more money than brains.
It made me laugh. That's what matters.
But yes, it's funny.
And like their whole mission in this one is that they're supposed to, like, there's some freighter. Again, you can see a new kind of freighter that we've never seen before, and it's transporting some kind of gas.
The Tabana gas. That's the Cloud City gas.
Oh, that okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what they were mining in Cloud City, and they come across. It's a derelict freighter, so they're like, "What's going on with this?" And Thrawn is kind of suspicious about what's here, but.
And I like how they don't care about the people. Like, his whole thing is to save, because when they get on the ship, they just find one guy is left there and the ship is disabled. And then they tell the rest of the crew to leave, or the ship that they're part of. And like, I'll stay here with a small crew and we'll get the ship, running again and get it back to, wherever it's headed. So the Imperials get their Tabana gas.
Yeah, exactly.
And you find out that the one surviving guy that's here is actually a pirate and not part of the crew. And he he ends up pulling a gun on them and capturing them.
Yeah, but he what does he do? Thrawn convinces them not to. He doesn't. He spares their lives because the other part's like we should kill them, but,
which is smart.
Exactly.
Save a whole lot of trouble for all the rebels in the future, guys. If you just kill him now, like
exactly. Yeah. Well,
I know they don't give a. I mean, this is also early Empire, so I mean the rebels aren't really around yet.
Right. Yeah. There's only rumblings of it, such things.
But I like how like his whole thing is, he wants to save the prisoners. When he figures out they're there, like he ended up talking about how he had a remote control buzz droid with his name his rank badge, and uses it to essentially pop a hole in the ship and just start sucking people out into space. I mean, he uses one to escape, and the other one, they're like, "Oh, what about the other guys?" He's like, "Yeah, they're outside."
Right. Yeah.
He cut a hole in the wall. They're gone now. I just love that because I'm like, well, yeah, that's. I mean, you are in space, and if we ever got to the point where we space travel, I would be fucking terrified if somebody just cutting a hole in the wall. Well, I mean, think about it. You're just dead.
Well, yeah.
You go out there, you ain't coming back in. On the mission to Mars,
unless
a guy gets frozen to space, and that's what put that fear in my head.
Unless you're General Leia Organa and you can fly, so.
I'll never understand that. Never.
We'll get to that later, I think.
Never understand the point of that. But I got a kick out of how when Thrawn does end up getting back in the ship and he's in trouble for rescuing the people and losing the gas. And again, that fits the Emperor. Like, we don't give a shit about these people. What about the gas?
Yeah, exactly. That's extremely valuable cargo.
It fits the Empire to a T.
It doesn't matter. Even one tank of Tibanna gas is worth more than all those people. And then he's like, we're going to suspend you. Dismissed. Oh, okay. But yeah.
I like when he has the three prisoners.
Yeah, they have
prisoners. And he just puts them in a room and lets them talk. So that way they'll essentially rat on their boss without them realizing.
Yeah.
And he mentions Tarkin too. I like that. That Tarkin's brought up multiple times in this comic.
And they know who he is. And their pirates are not, they're not happy to hear the name Tarkin. So.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Tarkin's even in the Clone Wars too. I mean, he's around and in power. For like, he's in one episode of the Clone Wars where they rescue him, but he makes a mention to Anakin where he's like, "I'm friends with Palpatine. He'll help me make sure I'm have a place in the military." And I'm like, he sure will until you go kablooey.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Plus, it's nice to have more Tarkin references and more stuff about Tarkin because you can't have future stuff about Tarkin anymore. So you gotta fill up that past. Yeah,
he's an interesting character too, just because he's like and he's in the next issue, I think, right? It's the next one he's in.
I can't remember the next one, but it's one of them coming up.
It's one of them coming up, yeah. He's just an interesting character, just because he's pretty evil and, he's like the Emperor, but doesn't have the Force powers or whatever. So
yeah.
Anyway, and of course he's a jerk. Everyone's scared of him because he has a reputation for being, merciless. So
he sure is that.
Yeah.
We're going to destroy a whole planet to prove a point.
Right, exactly.
And then we're going to destroy more planets to prove more points. I still love the final line. We should retreat in our moment of victory. Boom.
There you go.
I watched it on the plane. I'm just like, chef's kiss. I just love that fucking scene so much.
I mean,
that guy's like, we gotta go.
I mean, yeah, that guy was smart. He was like, we gotta get out of here. We probably should leave. And they're like, nah. They're so arrogant. Not Imperials are arrogant.
And I feel like they show Tarkin being arrogant in this too, as the comic goes on. And the end of this issue, after they're both Ensign and Admiral, not Admiral yet, but Thrawn are called into court. They're found not guilty and not fired. But they have a part where like I don't know if she's a senator or what she is. Where I don't remember who she is. Oh, A. Moff Gotti, which comes up in this book soon.
Oh yeah,
and she's trying to get him because again she wants to see Thrawn fail. They all do because they don't like an alien coming to power.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're racist and xenophobic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so many of these people were in the Clone Wars. I don't know if Moff Gotti is. I haven't looked it up. I'm assuming he is because so many of these officers and people in charge are all part of the Clone Wars.
Right. Yeah. Sometime I'll have to revisit that. I'll have to visit that show to begin with.
It's tough. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's good. It has some really good moments, but it has some bad ones too.
Right. Yeah.
It's only kiddish in the first couple episodes are kiddish and doesn't take long before it recognizes it's a war pretty quickly. And then it's not that kiddie anymore. But the other issue with Clone Wars is it doesn't take place in chronological order. So have fun. You'd be like, hey, that guy died. Why is he here? No, because this is the past. It's annoying sometimes.
Right. Yes, I see.
Especially if you don't know it going in. Like the first time I watched the show, I didn't know that was a thing, and it really threw me off. Where now I know it's a thing, so it doesn't really bother me. I'm like, yes, I'm aware, but at the time I'm like, what the fuck? So, but that brings us to issue 3.
Sure.
This cover is okay. It's just Thrawn in the background, and it shows, Governor Price, as I know her as, because she's in Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool to me to see her and kind of get her backstory, because she is a royal bitch in Rebels. So, and you can see it in here too. Like, I like how they show her first on Coruscant, where she's an aide to a governor, or not governor, aide to a senator, and then it kind of talks about, like, it shows you her past and how she was on planet Lothal, and the government pretty much conned her out of her mind. Her parents conned her parents out of their mind and took it from them.
Yeah.
Again, the Empire being the Empire.
Right, exactly.
But this also shows how she meets Thrawn. It shows her talking to... This guy's actually in Andor, Wolf Luaren, the commander of the ISB.
Yeah,
he's in Andor, too.
Yeah, I know the name. And he was a background character in A New Hope, actually.
Oh, he is?
He's at the conference room.
Oh.
He was the guy in the white uniform in the conference room. He didn't have any lines, and he was only named, 30 years later or whatever, but yeah.
I'm going to have to watch the movie now again because of that. You said that.
Just watch the scene and you'll see him. You'll see him like in the background of that conference room.
I know what you're talking about, Ashley. I think I noticed it. He's also a huge person in Clone Wars, working with Anakin and Obi-Wan constantly.
See, this is the thing about Star Wars, is that some random character who doesn't have any lines will suddenly be like a huge part of the thing. Only in Star Wars has it ever been a thing.
I love it though. I really do. And I like the fact that now that I watch Andor, I actually care about, like, the ISB, I know who they are. Where before I've been like, the ISB, who?
Exactly.
I'm sure they've been around before Andor.
Yeah. They were a part of they've been around since the EU or whatever. So in terms of didn't know about them. Wasn't until Andor I was introduced to them for the first time, and that's really what did it. Exactly. Yeah. They're like they're like the space, they're like the Empire's SS or whatever, whatever.
Yeah, Gestapo. Wait, God, I forget. Is it Gestapo?
Gestapo, yeah.
Because if I remember, the SS were the soldiers of Heinrich. The Gestapo were the secret police of, what the fuck was that fat guy's name? The pilot. I can't remember his name. World War II stuff. I know I can picture him, but I can't think of his name.
They all kind of
see what you did.
They all kind of blend together. Now you're obsessed with the World War II. Which Nazi was this person? Yes. Well, yeah.
Well, he was a famous German soldier before, and then he joined the Nazis, and then he was a piece of shit. But that's neither.
What do you think of Heydrich? Maybe Heydrich.
No, it's not Heydrich. Oh man, I know way too much stuff about Nazi Germany and World War II. By the way, I love World War II.
You think they were bad?
They were terrible people. But if I could, I would love to go to the spot in Russia where Russia finally turned them back and see that they have a monument built there. I would love to see that. I will never go to Russia in my whole lifetime unless something changes. But I would love to see that, just because such history right there.
Is that the monument of the woman with a big sword? Is that what that is?
No, it's a bunch of the things that the crosses that you use to stop a tank. It's like a bunch of those things. Okay. Like a statue built a bunch of them to show you this is how far they got before we turned them back.
Okay.
Someday in my life, I'm going to travel to Europe and see some of the historical spots from World War II, just because I have to.
Well, I believe Hitler's bunker is now a boba tea shop in Berlin, so you can go there.
Hey, I would, because that's.
I think there's a plaque, and then you can get some tea right next to it or something.
I just love history. I really do. I mean, yeah, it's just history. But also what makes me think of, the Empire is so much Nazism. Like when you really can see it in there. I mean, that's what Lucas was going for. Hell, we talked about it when we talked about New Hope, where that last scene is straight up from a Nazi propaganda movie.
Right. Yes. Although that was the Rebels do that.
Yes. So. But well, maybe Lucas was trying to say something here too. But it was just. It's just in Star Wars. I mean, it's such a reference to them. Hell, they're called stormtroopers, for God's sake.
Right. Exactly. So, that's very true.
But I like how you see this character, Price, where she's just a senator's aide, and then Moff Gandhi, who kind of becomes a villain in this, ends up framing her because he sprays her with spice.
Right, yeah. It's kind of ludicrous, but it's like...
It is.
You can't go to anybody now because you'll see I have the spice on you.
So I'll let you wash in my bathroom so then you can go out and deliver this comm chip that is not the same comm chip you gave me, so your boss will be Like, you couldn't just color it the same color and she wouldn't know the difference. Like, here's a blue one I gave you. This one is red. Like, you couldn't just paint it blue or something? Come on.
They got to show how evil this person is. Got to show how evil Moff Gotti is.
But I also like that you kind of see how everybody is corrupt in Coruscant, because she gets fired from her job. It shows her working at some desk job in Coruscant. The people she was with at this gathering earlier, she's now with again, that are offering her a job to work for this like agency.
Yeah, exactly.
Or foundation, they call it. And I like that. I like how you have this random shit going on. You have her training at some martial art place with some alien species I've never seen before.
Yeah, the cat man.
Yeah. I was like, who the hell is
sexy cat man? Interesting.
Yeah. I was like, also, what species is this? I'm like, I need to know, because I watch a lot of Star Wars. I don't recognize the species.
He kind of looks like the there's that Beauty and the Beast TV series in the 90s with Ron Perlman or whatever. He kind of looks like the Ron Perlman Beast. If you Googled that. I don't know if that's what I doubt that's what they were going for, but still.
This is also where you have her. She runs into Thrawn again, and you can kind of tell it's been like months since she met Thrawn, or not longer.
Right.
And then again, Moff Gotti is trying to get her to work for him because he thinks the organization that she's working for is trying to get stuff on him. So if she doesn't work for him, he'll just have her arrested. She's like, who's going to believe you over me? I mean, so I was also thinking, in this scene where you see her meeting Thrawn in a diner, do you think it's the same diner where Dexter used to work?
I mean, it's got that same droid.
Yeah.
Server droid.
I just thought I was like, God, that scene is so stupid.
I think I would not be shocked if they patterned that around the same droid. And then he's got his glasses on, and everybody's like, "Oh, you might think you're a Pantorian," which I'm like, "Oh, interesting. I don't know. I don't know what the species is, but
he looks like a Pantorian. They're in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah.
And Bad Batch.
I see.
They're blues. They're just blue with
just blue.
I think regular looking eyes or yellowish eyes, but they're not red.
They're not red. So like he's covered up. So he's like, so he's like Spock wearing a headband to cover his ears up.
Yeah. And the Pantorians would be something that people would know, because the Pantorians are part of the Republic Senate also.
Right, exactly.
So they're a race that people would be more familiar with.
Yeah, and Chiss would draw too much attention to himself. Okay.
Yeah. Wow, too much fucking Star Wars is in my head, by the way. Nothing but Star Wars.
So there's a good scene where Thrawn's like, he's like, well, what is your high government official fear? Or are you talking to Price? And he's like, oh, she says he doesn't fear anyone. And Thrawn's like, well, who does he hate? Everybody who holds positions of power either fear or hate someone. And that's how you attack them. Find out who they fear or hate.
I love political Thrawn. I also like how in this he's not really educated yet politically. He's just a very good tactician.
Right, yeah. So he's still he can't really navigate the world of the Imperials because he's still too new to it all. And
they're so bloodthirsty against each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I also, again, is kind of drawn from Nazi Germany. That's what they were too. They were all fighting to be the favorite of Hitler, where if you read a lot of Star Wars, you realize everybody's fighting to be the favorite of Palpatine also.
Right, exactly. It's very much the same situation here. Only Tarkin might be, he might be the only one who maybe, it's because he's number 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
He's pretty powerful, so he doesn't have to really fight too much, but he knows people are after him too, so.
Yeah, like in this, when Price meets up with him, and she's showing him, she's like, Moff Gotti doesn't trust you and wants information on you, and here's what I'm supposed to deliver to you, and just kind of tells her his plan.
Yeah,
but I like how they mention the rebels. She's like, the agency wanted this information on you too. They're rebels.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Very brief reference. Yes.
And then it talks a lot about Lothal. Because Rebels takes place a lot on Lothal. That's the main planet that the show starts off on. That's a planet that Ezra is from, who's one of the main characters.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of cool. You get a lot of references to that. And then this is when she goes back to the dojo and turns in her friends. And I really can't tell if her friends were actually rebels or she just framed them. I'm not really sure.
I mean,
I tried to read this twice, but I couldn't. I was like, I just don't know if they really were.
There's a lot of twists and turns. In any case, it just proves how she's willing to turn in her friends to get ahead as well. So whether or not they were, rebels or not. And she's like,
to be fair, Empire don't care.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, oh, I'm going to be a powerful person. I can help you in a few years, maybe.
If you're still alive.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Imperial prison is not very friendly, as we've seen.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Oh, you didn't get up for curfew? Oh, electrocute him. He's dead. We'll get a new guy in.
Right, yeah. There's no shortage of prisoners.
And then this brings us to issue 4. I kind of like this cover. It has Tarkin sitting on a chair and Stormtroopers in the background and Thrawn there on his side.
Yeah, and in the background, a Death Star.
Oh, I did not catch that.
The Death Star, well, it's kind of obscured, but it's like, oh no, it's the blueprints for the Death Star.
Man, it took him so long to build that damn thing.
Because
again,
I was for like 20 years. Come on, it's
also referenced it's referenced throughout Clone Wars too, and it's referenced in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I mean, I know what they were doing for that. They put it in Attack of the Clones, so they're like, remember that? This is coming up, because I'm sure I don't know. I don't have a problem with it as much as I used. It just kind of shows that Palpatine already had a game plan, right, way
back when everything starts.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what he's going for, and in Clone Wars, it really just shows you how he's playing both sides.
Yeah,
I just find it very amusing.
Yeah, he's but yeah, it comes up later in this. I don't think it comes up in this issue, but in the last issue, it does come up.
Yeah, it definitely comes up in the last issue. Because one of the things, in this issue, it starts off kind of talking about how there's been more riots, or not really riots, but there's been people attacking Imperials more often. There's been more smuggling.
Yeah. And
it's kind of showing that people, and they're blaming this guy Night Swan, who you have no idea who he is yet, or what this random character just mentioned is. But I like it that it's showing that people are starting to rebel against this government, against the Empire. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's a kind of an undercurrent of tension that, like, maybe we don't have to worry about. It's not just pirates and smugglers we have to worry about. We might have to worry about actual unrest coming up. Which, again, makes sense. When you're a tyrannical government, you're going to have unrest.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So
I don't think this is when Andor's happened yet, because I know the event in Andor that leads to the whole like where you get arrested and you're thrown to prison immediately after that heist is in Rebels, and it's mentioned in Rebels, which came out before Andor, which is damn cool, by the way. They make a comment about not the heist itself, but they make a comment about the curfew and the way people are being treated.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
So it's just one of those things now when you look at that's kind of the beginning of what starts the rebellion that we know now. But
right. Yeah.
This is just showing people smuggling. I mean, most of this issue is just Thrawn being called to some planet because there's a dispute between a human colony and an alien colony.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh yeah. There's they're human settlers on this alien planet, and the humans are raiding the alien parts.
Pretty much, and
because
then
they're
smuggling spice, I think, underneath plants.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I like how Thrawn finds out that it's the whole the government is all the city government is the ones that are behind all this, the city council.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Another political aspect in it too. Yeah. And then I like the way it's illustrated. Land. Yeah. Exactly. I like the way it's illustrated. It's at night and it's blue and purple, and it's a kind of nice change from the big colors we've had earlier. Just the way the artistry of this issue is, I like
this whole comic is done really good. All the issues are very well done art.
Yeah,
and they draw women okay. It's not ugly drawn women. So
yeah, thankfully we don't have any of our favorite characters to say, "Oh no, Leia is drawn very poorly."
I'll never. Was that
characters
Dark
mostly?
Empire?
Yeah,
it bothered me so much.
Right. Yeah, I know.
I'm so upset.
These are all
unfamiliar
characters.
Yeah, but it's just cool. To see more Thrawn and Zinvato doing, kind of doing their thing to bring rest, to bring peace to this planet. But at the same time, Thrawn blows up all the land that had the spice underneath, and the alien's like, what did you do?
He's like, well, if I hadn't done that, then you would have lost some lives. So I just eliminated the source of tension.
And then I like how the alien's like, I will repeal your act. I will take it to Coruscant, but it's like nothing's happened.
Yeah, exactly. And Thrawn's like, all right. No, I mean, it's like one of those situations where the law says you can do this, but the law's not on your side. The law doesn't care about what your complaint is. Really.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. And then also one of the things that's mentioned throughout the first 3 issues is how his assistant never gets promoted. Thrawn keeps getting promoted, but that guy just stays an ensign.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's after this mission when you finally see Thrawn get promoted to, I think he's promoted to Admiral here. Or no, Commodore, not Admiral yet.
Yeah, Commodore Thrawn, and then he gets Vanto promoted to Lieutenant, I believe.
Lieutenant Commander,
yeah.
But there's a really good, maybe not a spread, but a really good page here where they look like they probably just took a bunch of the book and combined it into one page where you just see, this is where Thrawn gets command of the Chimera, which is the Star Destroyer that he has in Rebels and Ahsoka.
Yeah. I think Chimera.
Chimera. It's so cool. Like, and they have little brief images in the scene that I want to know more about, where you see a bunch of dead stormtroopers, you see the rebel sign in the background. I'm like, and Wookiees, like, I want to know what this is.
Yeah, it's a great, page. And you got the Emperor's eyes and everything. It's just like it's like a montage.
Yeah. It's probably condensing a chapter or two of the book.
Yeah, you're like, which wacky adventures did they get through in this one page?
And then this is where he gets promoted to admiral.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's in charge of the 96, which comes up in Rebels, because right before you first meet Thrawn, they say, send in the 96th. Because they make a comment in here, I forget when it is, but they do make a comment about some other Admiral K, I forget what his name was, it's on Lothal right now. And that's the guy who they're fighting in the first 2 seasons of Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, they even said the insurgents of Lothal are already being dealt with by Admiral Constantine.
Okay, that's who that is.
And that's exactly what's happening in Rebels Season 1 and 2. So this takes place at that point. So we're 2 years away from essentially 1 to 2 years to when he shows up in Rebels.
Okay.
Just kind of give you, like, the timeline stuff. This whole thing is essentially them talking about a roundtable where they're having issues on this one planet. He's ordered to be at this planet, or he's ordered to have his fleet at this planet, while this other guy is also trying to take out rebels on this baton or something it's called. And then Thrawn gets into another ship and flies off somewhere else to deal with something. Yeah,
him and Vanto. Well, he doesn't think they should. What is he? I'm trying to think. So he doesn't think they should attack this place, all the way. But they want it done, or he doesn't want it done so rashly. So he's like, they're like, the Admiral says, you have to go to this planet regardless. Your Star Destroyer has to go. And Thrawn says, well, it said our Star Destroyer has to go, but we didn't say we have to go. So him and Vanto take a ship to do a clandestine kind of side mission, or to do their own little thing at this baton. And the ship they take, Oh, go on.
This is just a regular freighter, but because he wants to, he even tells me, like, hey, I want to get more information on this planet. They're like, no, just go now. We don't want to wait. It'll make the Empire look bad.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what it is. So he doesn't want it to be rashly, but yeah.
Which it fits the Empire's acting rash. I can believe it.
Yeah, they were mad that someone stood up to them, and so now they're acting rashly. And Thrawn's like, well, you should be calculated. You shouldn't just act rashly. And the ship they actually take, it's the same ship as the Outrider Rendar ship.
Yep.
They don't make a point of it, but it definitely is. I like that little touch.
I was thinking, I'm like, wait, that's the Out. I'm like, that's Rendar's ship.
Right.
They couldn't remember the name of the ship.
Yeah, they never say it, but yeah.
But I knew it. I'm like, Shadows of the Empire. Hey, is that the only Shadows of the Empire reference we've gotten so far in current canon? No, I think we got another reference.
There haven't been many, as far as I know.
Man, I want them to make a canon version of Shadows of the Empire.
Just make a cartoon movie about it. I think people would love that. Make a 2-hour cartoon movie with, you could have Mark Hamill come back or whatever. I don't know.
There is a comic book that takes place now in Star Wars between episodes 5 and episode 6. That's currently going.
Okay.
So interesting. I would love a Shadow of the Empire, because that's when it takes place, right? Between the two?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would love if they did like a mini series of it or something, but who knows?
Someday, maybe.
Bring back Rendar. Make him canon.
Anyway.
Make Mara Jade canon too, damn it. I really want Mara Jade to be canon.
They've CGI'd, they've done a deep fake of Mark Hamill, so anything's possible now. They could make him a love interest when he's on the planet training the Jedi. Or whatever.
Yeah, honestly, I wish they would have just recasted him and have some other actor and hire him and just film a whole bunch of stuff, and then I get what I want, and I'll be happy. I don't need it to be Mark Hamill. Their look-alike would be fine.
Chris Pratt could play Luke Skywalker. No, he shouldn't. That was just a joke.
He plays everybody else. He did at one point. God. Ugh. I used to like that guy, and then he was like, he's in just too many movies. I'm like, nope, I'm done with you.
Yeah, he's been oversaturated.
Then issue 5 starts off. That's when you see the Rendar ship, but also you see the Star Destroyer with the other admiral that's attacking.
Yeah,
gets shot by a cannon. They didn't know the rebels had a turbo.
Yeah, it has an ion cannon and then it has a turbo laser. And they're like, we didn't even know. It's a good thing we were on that ship because like I said, I didn't want us to ask rashly, and we acted rashly, and all of a sudden it's being shot at by turbo lasers. So
and we're losing. Right,
exactly. So it shows that Thrawn is he's the smarter man here.
Oh yeah, a lot of the Imperials are dumb fucks.
Right, exactly. So
I did like seeing the ship, and this is where Thrawn has Vato disguise himself as an Imperial with a bullet hole essentially, and gets on, and then ends up going on the ship while Thrawn is off doing his own thing, and it turns out that the guy who Night Swan is actually the guy that raided the ship in issue 2.
Right, yeah. Signy, aka Night Swan, yes.
So he recognizes.
Yeah.
Which was part of Thrawn's plan, so that way he would believe the surprise on Vanto's face, because he honestly was surprised.
So like any good protagonist, villain, or whatever, he's Thrawn is 2 steps ahead of the plan. Everything that happens is like, oh, he knew it was going to happen, but he just didn't know quite how it all fell together. So he knew that this guy was Night Swan, or he suspected it, so that's why he had this whole charade going on. But
I like it.
Yeah.
Where again they use the plaque having more than one meaning, where it's connected to some bomb that gets set off. Right, yeah. Which causes a big hubbub. And so they flee on another ship. So him and Vanto. And then we lose Dash Rendar ship. Right, yeah, well. They'll be back. I swear that ship they get onto looks familiar too. But I don't know what it's called, but I recognize that ship. It looks like a B-Wing, honestly, but it's not a B-Wing. It's not. No, B-Wings in the current canon don't exist yet. I know it looks like one, though. It's not. It is not. But I don't know what. Yeah. The B-Wings actually have their origin in current canon in the Rebels show. There's a whole episode where they go to some guy that's making the B-Wing prototype, and they get his ship, and then the Rebels then are able to start making more. Oh, that's cool. So I know you like the B-Wing. I always remember that as a kid. You were a fan of the B-Wing. Yeah, it's my favorite Starfighter because it's so weird looking. So I'll have to watch that at least to watch that episode. Yeah. It's a good episode. It's in season 1. I think it's 2. Yeah, it's 2. Okay. Season 2. But yeah, I can find the episode and tell you which one to watch. But yeah, it shows all the whole origin of the B-Wing and how it can take. It's made to break blockade. That's why I call it the B-Wing, because it's the blockade runner. I see. Because it has more power than other ships. Right. Okay. And it fucks the hell out of the Imperials. But it was just cool. Like, you're right. It does really look at that. And this is when you have an hologram, what you get to see all the time in Star Wars, of the admirals arguing with Thrawn and each other because that fucker's losing. And Thrawn, this is where I think Thrawn said, my ship's there. I'm just not. Or maybe this is when he comes back and he tells him, I do have info about how do I want to attack Bataan. Right. Yeah. And this is then where they decide that Governor Price will go down to Lothal, or not Lothal, whatever this planet is. Because her parents are down there, and she'll use that to get in and get information. Well, she says get information about, and try to take out their shield when she really just wants to get her parents out. Which, again, I like how she's selfish, too. Like, she doesn't give a shit about, in this case, about the Empire. She just wants to save her parents. Right, yeah. Gives her some humanity, I guess. But she is not a good person, by the way. If you ever watch Rebels, she is not good. Right. She is a bad person. But I like that, how they sent her down with some other ISB agent, and she pretty much she turns on him at one point. Well, she tricks him and goes back to the house to rescue her parents and leaves him be. And then when he realizes it, no, it's not until issue 6, he realizes it. But we'll get to that shortly. But yeah, it shows her go down to the planet and meet with the rebels. And I like how even her parents aren't really like for the Empire. They're like, this governor is corrupted, like everybody else in the Empire. Yeah. Which they're not wrong. The Empire is completely corrupt. The Republic was corrupt too, though. It's weird. Almost that Lucas was trying to say that governments are corrupt. And taxes are bad. Well, no one listen. And stop taxation of the trade routes. Jeez. Anyway. I think it's just shows that, and then it shows Thrawn essentially makes a phone call to Night Swan and says he wants to meet him face to face. And that in that office that he's sitting in the Chimera with the background of the two alien things in the ball, that's also in Rebels. That's straight from Rebels. Is that some alien art? Because I know he likes to collect alien art and stuff. I think so, yes. He mentions it in here. They really go on about it in Rebels, where when you see his office in Rebels, you see all the different art he collects. Yeah. It's it's a good character trait. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah. And then this brings us to issue 6, which I like this cover. Thrawn in the center, Palpatine on the right, Vader in the left, and then a couple different Star Destroyers. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It would get my attention in a comic book store. And then this is where you have Thrawn meets with Night Swan, and they're talking about how the Empire is going after all this Dunum, or whatever it's called. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Dunum. Yes. That's right, Dunium. But this is when they talk about the Death Star too, where he talked because Night Swan, the rebels, talking about how they're hearing about that the Empire is building something.
Right. Yeah, and they're using the Dunium for it. If I'm not mistaken, that's what they were using it for.
Yeah.
What's the reason they're getting all this Dunium? Yeah.
But they also use in Star Destroyers too, they mentioned, but they're using way more than normal. And then this is when he also tells like his whole backstory to this guy, how he was found on a planet, but he wasn't really abandoned or exiled. He was actually there to learn Imperial ship so he could study the Empire.
Yeah, he's like, I went to make it seem like it was a years, but I was only there a couple months or whatever. Just so yeah, he fooled the Empire then. It
makes me want more about the Chiss. Because so far, I mean, I think they're probably in the novel, but in anything that I've watched or consumed, I have not seen them again.
Yeah, I don't think they're discussed very much in anything. Well, I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
They're probably in the Thrawn novels.
They do talk more, about them. At least in the original Timothy Zahn novels, they do. But I don't think we see many, if any, other members of their species in the original stuff.
We did in Heir the Empire of those three. We did not.
No, yeah.
Didn't Thrawn die by the end of the 3 books?
Yeah, he got stabbed by his bodyguards. By one of his...
Okay.
It's a whole big thing. I don't think
it's been a while.
He had, like, bodyguards that were, like, Force. They worshipped the Sith.
Okay.
But I don't think that's part of the new canon. At least I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
No, there's none of that. Silly. He doesn't have any of that. And he has no whatever the hell that monster was he has wrapped around his neck in the book.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate. That hasn't shown up yet. Because that was a fun thing where you got the sense that he knew about the Force and he used those things to protect him from the Force because he knew it was dangerous. But I haven't seen any of that mentioned at all. So, but that was a nice touch for me. So I'm disappointed they haven't continued that. But
no, not yet. The Thrawn stuff isn't done yet. So
no, it's not done. I know.
Season 1 of Ahsoka is all done, and it's still going. Let's just say that there will be more Thrawn.
Right.
And this is in the book when Governor Price is trying to get her family out. The agent comes back and wants to murder them, and then she kills him.
Yeah,
and says, "Oh, he didn't come back. I don't know where he is." And like how I think when Night Swan and Thrawn are talking, he pretty much says that Night Swan makes comment like, even these people didn't have me as leader, they're still going to rebel.
Yeah, that's true. And
they blow up the entire base. I think it was.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, yeah, they blow up the entire base, and I like how you have Governor Price being, again, a shithead person where someone's like, hey, you got any ideas? She just shoots them when her parents turn around.
Yeah. She's cold.
Like, I don't know what happened. He got shrapnel. But you can't tell by the bullet hole in him. Like, wait a second. The blaster. But
let's see, what else?
There isn't a whole lot more. I know that you have Thrawn on his ship.
There's a starfight with TIE fighters and things.
Oh, when some of the rebels I think show up to attack.
Yeah, but they had they had TIE fighters hidden.
Oh yeah, because he brings in the other ships and tricks them, and then starts blowing up everything.
Concealed inside the repair barges, that's where they were, and it kind of destroys the rebels or the insurgents, I guess, is there at this point.
Yeah, it would be rebels because also at this point, because this is right before Rebels. Rebels mentions in the show, which takes place at this point, it's already happening, season 1, 2, probably 1, is that there are other rebel forces that are starting to take shape.
Yeah.
Which brings more to Andor, too, where we see that also.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you see more of Governor Price being, not good, where some stormtroopers like, hey, we found the agent. He's been, and then she blows up the entire place.
She's always blowing things up in this.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, she's always blowing stuff in Rebels, too. But I think this is where she says that she'll work with Thrawn because she can help with the political stuff. That might have been earlier, but that's kind of what she's... Oh, yeah, notice where she says you need me because I can help you, with the political bumps.
Yeah, there'll be lots of bumps. Yeah.
I love the page here where she's talking about the rebels on Lothal.
Yeah. You kind of see... It's a good image, and you see the Rebel Alliance. It kind of looks like a Rebel Alliance logo. It's like a phoenix type thing in the background.
That's Sabine's logo.
Okay. There you go.
It's just so cool. I mean, it's because and it also kind of, connects this because this is showing right before he's going to be called there to go and take care of them. Also, at this point, if you watch Rebels, they've already killed a couple of Inquisitors. They've already killed an Inquisitor. They've already fought Vader once. Like, they've done a lot of shit up to this point and caused a lot of trouble.
I see.
So, it's so good. So good. But yeah, no, the way that they're drawn, the two guys on the left, that is not early Rebels. That's season 3 and on Rebels.
Okay.
He has shorter hair, which he cuts his hair, and the guy has the mask on. So those are both later. That's both season 3.
All right.
And then you see Thrawn goes to Palpatine and meets Vader for the first time, and then gets promoted to Grand Admiral.
Well, this is where he talks about he met Anakin Skywalker earlier, but now he's like, oh, I'm pleased we finally met Darth Vader.
He doesn't know at this point, but I do know in the canon he does figure out that Anakin is Vader.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me because he's like the smartest Imperial, so of course he would figure that out. So
I think it has to do, from what I was reading, because I didn't read the other books and it's somewhere else, it has to do with the way Vader talked to the Stormtroopers versus how Anakin talked to the Clone Troopers.
I see.
He picked up on things.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, no surprise, Palpatine's lying, so hey.
Right, exactly.
And then the very last page shows the Outer Rim, and Vanto is in charge of some ship, and he's meeting with another Chiss.
Yeah, Admiral of Chiss Defense Fleet. And you get the sense that Vanto is going to become like a liaison to the Chiss or something.
Yeah, and I really want more.
I don't think there is more. Am I wrong? Is there more to this, or?
I don't know. That's the end of this comic series. That's the end of the first book, but I think there's 2 more books.
If there is, okay. I haven't looked into it too much, but let me see. Let me just check. Oh, followed by Thrawn Alliances. Okay, there are more books, yeah.
And I really want to... I don't read, unfortunately, very much.
Right, yeah.
I have a really good book called Fifth Civilization that I need to finish reading, and I'm in the final part. I still haven't finished it, even though I enjoy it. I also don't know where the book went.
Yeah, I heard that. Heard that's a really good book. They should really make that into a movie or HBO series or something.
It is good, though, by the way. Like, all jokes aside, it actually is a really good book, Peter. So you did a good job.
Thank you. Yes.
It's not that I don't like it. I really enjoy it. I just don't read. And even when I read, like, I can get sucked into it for like 30 minutes and just keep reading.
Right. It's easier to read a comic book. I will grant you that. It's over quickly and it has lots of good images in it.
That too. And I talk word about it.
Yeah,
I read.
Right, that's very true. But yeah, there are 2 more books. It looks like So Thrawn Alliances, Thrawn Treason.
I'm very curious about them now, especially. Unfortunately, there is no comic adaptation.
Yeah, maybe someday. Although it's been like 5 or 6 years at this point, so I don't know if they'll get around to it ever.
I'm assuming this didn't sell enough to make them want to care. And I guess Alliances takes place after the events of Rebels Season 3. And it also tells you about the Clone Wars and how he met Anakin Skywalker. Okay, that's where you get that information about.
Okay, yeah. They had to talk about that at some point. I'm sure they.
I really wanted to know that because it's not in the Clone Wars. But also, there's a few storylines in the Clone Wars that never happen. There's Asajj Ventress' story is never wrapped up in the Clone Wars itself. It's wrapped up in a novel from an arc that was supposed to be in the Clone Wars, but when they canceled the show the first time, they never did it. So then they made a book instead, and when the show came back, they couldn't finish it essentially because it's already been written.
I see.
There's stuff like that. If you ever watch Clone Wars, you get to season 5 was the original ending of Clone Wars, and there's a lot of unfinished arcs at that point.
Oh, okay.
Because it wasn't ready to be done. Cartoon Network had enough.
I'm seeing how expensive this is. I just looked it up. Oh, okay. It just came out in trade paperback in August of 2023. Okay, so it's not too expensive.
For the second one or the third one?
This or the comic, I think.
Oh.
It looks like this comic that we just read. Oh, new printing. Maybe not. I don't know how to parse Amazon stuff, but it looks like it's not too expensive to find if you really wanted to.
Okay. If you wanted to find it. I kind of do, because I'm actually going to a convention that Timothy Zahn is going to be at soon. So I've seen him once, but I didn't have anything for him to sign. Now, if I had an Heir to the Empire, he'd be signing that in a heartbeat.
Yes. I'm sure he signed a number of those, yeah. But that would be fun. I'm trying to see. Okay. First printing. Man, those Heir to the Empire trades, those are going for a lot. I'm glad I picked them up for you a long time ago, but
they're not cheap at all anymore.
No, they're not. This one looks
re-released. So
yeah, why would Disney re-release those? So
would that be smart to make money?
That's a whole other thing. I was just looking at there was some viral thing on Twitter going around about the changes to Star Wars, and everyone was talking about how Disney should release the unaltered original trilogy on Blu-ray, and it's like, well, why wouldn't they do it at this point? It just makes me sad that
we'll get it the day George Lucas is dead.
I think that's likely, which may be a while. So
yes, but I feel like the day he dies, all going to be announced. Like, I think that's the reason why it hasn't happened, because I think I feel like it had to be in the contract. He's like, excuse me, but you cannot release the original cut till I am dead and in the grave.
I want the Jedi Rock song to be played at my funeral. I want the little.
So I could see that being a thing where he's like, no, you could not release that. People want it. I'm one of them. I would love to see the originals.
Yeah.
Just to see.
In high definition, I guess, is what we want.
Yes.
We don't want to see like the laser just transfer or whatever, whatever we've got. Anyway, they were just going about like, why isn't Disney doing it? And nobody had answers. Everyone had their own opinion about why it was being held up. But
just like that in the holiday special. We'll never see the holiday special probably until he's dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You don't need to see the holiday special. Go listen to our episode where we bitched about it, but you don't need to.
Good God. You don't need to see it.
But it's Star Wars. People would buy it on DVD if they released it officially. People would buy it.
Oh, guaranteed.
I'm one of them.
If they put that on Disney Plus, they would get huge numbers that they'd never seen before on Disney Plus. The service would shut down for so many people would be streaming it.
They'd be like, oh my God, what the hell is this bullshit?
Right, exactly.
All right, we should go to Shelf Stacker Box for this Thrawn comic. And I'll go first. I'm going to put this in the stack. It held my attention. I wanted more action in my comic, but I did enjoy a good political comic. But it's going to stack, but I did enjoy it. I read it almost twice. I didn't finish the last issue on my second reading.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like it. But it's still good. It's a good book. What about you?
I put in the stack, too. I'm past the age where I really have nostalgia for Star Wars stuff. I only have fond feelings for stuff I read, 20 years ago. So I read it. It was good. I probably won't read it again. It was a lot of politics, a lot of talking, not as much action. And while I generally do like that, it's not as strong a reread for me. But Thrawn's a good character, and I do love seeing the inner workings of Imperial. So it's worthwhile if you like Thrawn character or any of the Star Wars comics in general. So take a look at it.
Yeah, definitely. And it adds a little bit more context for Rebels and Ahsoka. Like, knowing more about a character that is probably going to be a big part of Star Wars coming up. So
yeah,
because I think they have a lot planned for Thrawn in the coming years.
Well, that's good. He should be used more because out of all the characters in canon, old canon, he's the one that people needed to see. So I'm glad they're using him.
I am too. Makes me very excited for Ahsoka season 2.
Although they could have Dash Rendar fight Grand Admiral Thrawn in the next season of Ahsoka. So
I want Dash Rendar to show up so bad.
He could be played by Chris Pratt. I mean, it's perfect.
It actually would look like, it kind of does look like him.
Yes.
So it could work, actually.
See, we're giving Disney people ideas. Disney, if you're listening.
He's still Star-Lord. At the end of Guardians 3, they're like, he's coming back at some point.
Yeah, Star-Lord is Dash Rendar, in my opinion. So it's like, he's kind of the same character, but
it's not that far off from each other.
Anyway.
If you enjoyed this episode, there's over 500 other episodes of this podcast on Podbean. We've done tons of Star Wars content. You will see some of it, because I can't fit all of it anymore in the show notes. In the show notes below you, so definitely go click that. Otherwise, go on Podbean, type in Star Wars. You will find everything we've done to Star Wars. It's got to be over like 30, 40 episodes at this point, I feel like. So go check out all that. If you want to support the show, we do a Patreon, a little dollar. You vote in our Patreon polls. We have one every month. You can go see that too and help support the show. We have a Discord. You can join our Discord, chat with us, and help affect the show, and just chat with us, talk about the show. So please go do that. You'll see a link in the show notes to that. Want to give a shout out to Helena. She created our awesome intro and outro. Also, if you need another podcast to listen to, I have 2 others I want to recommend. A Gamer Looks at 40 that Bill Tucker has been on the show many times, and also check out Nomad to Fantasy. Right? And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Audio only, but we are on YouTube too. So please rate, review us, subscribe wherever you are, wherever you get your podcast. Please help us out. Thank you. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.